Hi everyone, I am Dr. Ruby Violet Rani, Assistant Professor, Department of Psychology, St. Joseph College of Arts and Science, Cuddalore. In this video, we are going to see about memory, what are the stages of memory and how to improve memory. So the definition, the word memory is derived from Latin and Greek words meaning to be mindful as to remember. Memory is the storage of past experience, that it is the seat of one's ability to create or remember past perceptions, emotions, thoughts, and actions. Memory is the function involved in reliving past experience, or it is the totality of past experience that can be remembered. Information processing approach. The information processing occurs at three different levels. So this approach is modeled after a high-speed computer. This approach assumes that there are certain memory structures for storing information and certain memory process for transforming information from one structure to another. Information processing occurs at three different levels. First, sensory input from the environment are translated into patterns of verbal energy by the sensory receptors. This is the sensory information stage or input processing. Secondly, the important information about the input is then transferred to the stage which is called short-term memory or primary memory. Then, so sensory information stage. It is the first stage of memory storage in which the receptor holds a more or less exact copy of an input for a fraction of a second, usually 0.1 to 0.5 seconds. George Sperling referred to the visual sensory information storage as iconic memory. It is the visual form, the sensory information storage. The auditory sensory information storage is called echoic memory because it seems to be an exact echo of an auditory input. Short-term memory. The incoming stimulus message are passed on to the brain from sensory information storage. Some part of the brain translate them into an acoustical code of auditory representation of the input and remembers them for a few seconds. One typically can hold not more than 5 to 7 items at a time in STM. A number of studies suggest that items filled in STM remains available for recall not more than about 30 seconds before vanishing forever. Through rehearsal, one keeps putting it back into temporary storage. By rehearsing the item into STM several times, one can keep it available for a period of several minutes. Rehearsing any item keep it current in STM and helps move it to the long-term storage. Long-term memory seems to be more complex than STM. Firstly, it increases certain critical feathering and one sensory inputs. Secondly, the LTM creating an acoustical representation of the input. And thirdly, long-term memory records information on how to reproduce the items filed away. However, long-term memory does not actually allow retrieving experience in any great details. There seems to be separate memory banks for each of the sensory modalities plus several inappropriate banks that helps one to relate the picture of a stimuli with the sound of its name. LTM is practically limitless. Measuring memory. Three major ways of measuring memory: recall, recognition, relearning. Recall is the method of measuring retention in which the subject reproduces with a minimum of clues, sometimes that it has previously learned. Recall involves remembering information spontaneously or on the basis of certain clues. The method of recall is suitable for studying the retention of verbal materials such as poem or a section of textbooks of the different methods, recall yields the smallest amount of measurable retention. The next one, recognition. In this, the subject is required only to recognize the correct answer when it is presented. If the incorrect answer, for example, multiple choice test. This method is most widely used in objective examination. The third one is relearning. In this, the subject demonstrates memory for some time previously learned through the saving in time or trials record for learning the material again. Relearning is a sensitive procedure for measuring memory and often reveals that we know more than we realize. Various objective methods have been used in the measurement of memory. Improving memory. So there are various methods to improve memory. Many researches have been done in finding out the techniques to improve or enhance memory. Many techniques have been tried to recall the materials, reorganize it, give it in a meaning, and in some way make a sense out of it. The following are the principle of improving one's memory. The number one is task. The nature of the task and its meaningfulness affect memory at all levels. And information which does not make any sense is difficult to remember. Meaningful words are easily remembered than nonsense syllabus. If one could make the task interesting and meaningful, it can be remembered longer. The second one is technique. The organized material are likely to be remembered better than jumble of information. Chunking, categorizing, grouping by first letters, and sequencing or other means of organization. Organizing materials into categories is one form of clustering, that is linking together the similar forms of materials. This kind of clustering resists erosion of forgetting. Another technique which helps in improving memory is visualization. Forming an integrated image of all the information placed in a simple mental picture helps to preserve the memory. The important technique is mnemonic device. The art of applying memory device is called mnemonic. The mnemonic is any device or trick that helps one to remember things. One mnemonic device based on a similar principle is the peg word system, which uses 10 or more simple words or memory pegs or hooks. They include visual, imaginary, rhymes, and meaningful transformation. For example, one is bun, two is shoe, etc. Once memorized, these words act as pegs upon which any arbitrary series of items can be hung. Another mnemonic device is known as keyword system. It has been successfully used to learn foreign vocabulary. In this, as keywords from the mother tongue, which is similar in sound to the foreign word and which can be imagined in association with the translation of the foreign word. Another system is known as digit letter system. Its aim is to break up numbers, dates, telephone numbers, etc., and convert them into words. A code is developed for each digit. Another very effective mnemonic device is to put the item to be remembered into a story form. Finally, it has been observed that the yogic practice also helps in increasing both physiologically and psychological efficiency in remembering. Thank you.